So when Farshid stands up, that's when we'll start 1 minute of silence. And then he will break that silence by going into the prayers. So if we could all stand now and do the 1 minute of silence.
Meherabad ki jai. Meherabad ki jai. Ardigar, the preserver and protector of all. You are without beginning and without end, non-dual, beyond comparison, and none can measure you. You are without color, without expression, without form, and without attributes. You are unlimited and unfathomable, beyond imagination and conception, eternal and imperishable. You are indivisible, and none can see you but with eyes divine. You always were, you always are, and you always will be. You are everywhere, you are in everything, and you are also beyond everywhere and beyond everything. You are in the firmament and in the depths. You are manifest and unmanifest, on all planes and beyond all planes. You are in the three worlds and also beyond the three worlds. You are imperceptible and independent. You are the Creator, the Lord of Lords, the knower of all minds and hearts. You are omnipotent and omnipresent, knowledge infinite, power infinite, and bliss infinite. You are the ocean of knowledge, all-knowing, infinitely knowing, the knower of the past, the present, and the future, and you are knowledge itself. You are all-merciful and eternally benevolent. You are the soul of souls, the one with infinite attributes. You are the Trinity of truth, knowledge, and bliss. You are the source of truth, the ocean of love. You are the Ancient One, the highest of the high. You are Prabhu and Parmeshwar. You are the Beyond God and the Beyond Beyond God also. You are Parabrahma, Allah, Allahi, Yazdan, All Master, and God the Beloved. You are named Izad, the only one worthy of worship. We repent, O God, most merciful, for all our sins, for every thought that was false or unjust or unclean, for every word spoken that ought not to have been spoken, for every deed done that ought not to have been done. We repent for every deed and word and thought inspired by selfishness, and for every deed and word and thought inspired by hatred. We repent most especially for every lustful thought and every lustful action, for every lie, for all hypocrisy, for every promise given but not fulfilled, and for all slander and backbiting. Most especially also, we repent for every action that has brought ruin to others, for every word and deed that has given others pain, and for every wish that pain should befall others. In your unbounded mercy, we ask you to forgive us, O God, for all these sins committed by us, and to forgive us for our constant failures to think and speak and act according to your will and wish. Beloved God, help us all to love you more and more, and more and more, and still yet more, till we become worthy of union with you, and help us all to hold fast to Baba's Daman till the very end. Meherabad ki jai. Meherabad ki jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Baba Kodai Ji, Jai Baba.
O glorious
Eternal ancient one,
your
face is a bright transcendental sun. Lighten this dark world and the tears I weep. My heart may I give to you to keep. Creator yet creationless you are, truth and truth finding divine avatar, who through compassion the three worlds maintains, destroy this ignorance that life sustains. Lights are the whirling spokes of breath of the world's wheel that bears me on to death. On the edge you who are infinitely kind, break the wheels of which is conditioned mind. Incense is what love these fruits my heart, which to please you I have shaped from my heart. Accept them as you would a simple flower that has no use beyond its shining hour. You are myself, I sing to you in praise, and beg your love to bear me through the days, till you, the ever-living perfect one, illume my darkness with your shining sun.
Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
So, a few things. Brad and Cathy are going to do a song. Sally is going to read a few things. And then Janaki, our guest speaker, how lovely, is going to talk a little bit, and then she will also take questions of the curious mind. And then we'll end the program by Cathy and Brad doing another tune. So, Sally, or Cathy and Brad, are you ready?
So Baba said it's all a dream. You know, there's only one reality. So we're going to sing a song about a dream. Dream, 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 when I want you in my arms, when I want you, and all your charms whenever I want you. All I have to do is dream, 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 when I feel blue. In the night when I need you to hold me tight whenever I want you. All I have to do is dream. I can make you mine, taste your lips of wine, anytime, night or day. Only trouble is, gee whiz, I'm dreaming my life away. I need you so that I could die. I love you so, and that is why whenever I want you, all I have to do is dream. Dream, 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 dream. Dream, 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 dream. Dream, 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 I can make you mine, taste your lips of wine, anytime, night or day. Only trouble is, gee whiz, I'm dreaming my life away. I need you so that I could die. I love you so, and that is why whenever I want you, all I have to do is dream. Dream, 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 dream. Dream, 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 dream. Dream, 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 dream.
information to Bill and Diana for Skype. And we told them the date and the time, and she said in a response, so that would be Wednesday morning our time, right? And unfortunately, Wednesday morning is already full. Would have loved to have been with you all, really, really, but just not possible. The good news is that Bill is recovering very well from a fall from bed about 2 weeks ago. Nothing broken, just a bruised shoulder and a shock to the system. But he was able to attend a little party for my 80th birthday, which made me very happy, Baba knows. The age of Aquarius just keeps unfolding. Jai Baba, beloved Mayor Baba, Diana, and Bill. Okay. Through some papers the other day, and I came across this. Joni Agan, when she found really good stuff, would of course write it down.
Take the mic out of
If
the...
any of you are familiar with Joni. So this was something that came out of a 1966 Divyabani. Quote, try to be always happy. Never think that life is dreadful or I am tired of life. Such thoughts really make life miserable. But if you think life is worth living, all difficulties will appear insignificant. I will help you to try to develop love. Never think I am alone. I have so much to do. I am poor. All are poor. The whole world is poor. Even millionaires are poor because they have greed and want more. Love someone, and I will help you. Do not worry. My blessings, Mayor Baba.
Jai Baba. Can you hear me?
I don't know if anybody knows who this woman is, but her name is Janaki. And she's lived at the tomb, I think, 46 years? 46 years. And has a lot of love from Baba and the mandali that she's been with. And she's going to talk a little bit about her being there in the beginning, possibly, and then any questions that you have on your mind about the tomb, what's going on, etc., she'll be glad to answer them. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Or questions about mandali, because I've spent a lot of time with all of them. What did he say in the beginning? I came in 1977, the day before Baba's birthday, and found Baba and stayed. I just stayed. But I think the best idea for me is that if you ask questions, then then you can get answers to what you'd like to hear about. Yes.
Well, I remember you very well,
Thank you.
of course. And when did you stop, or are you still handing out prasad at the tomb? Do you still do that?
Can you talk a
Do
little
you
louder?
still hand out prasad at the tomb, or do you?
Sometimes,
continue that?
but I have other work around there. I do cleaning, big cleaning inside Samadhi. I manage the shrines, I manage the museum. Sometimes I'm working at the Samadhi giving prasad.
Which mandali member were you closest to?
Which mandali, what?
Which mandali member? I remember you working with Mansari.
Yes,
Yeah, had a big relationship with Mansari.
yes.
Who were you closest to, and can you tell us about it?
Well, I was close to more than a few probably, But probably the closest was Mansari, because I was giving prasad all day at the Samadhi for many, many, many years, and she was living on the hill, and she was one of my bosses, and Nanakir was my other boss, in quotes. And but over time, because I was there all day for years, she and I became probably, especially inwardly, closer than probably any other mandali. She started teaching me things that I needed to learn, like the word duty or responsibility. What does that mean? It means showing up on time, doing your work. I didn't, I wasn't in touch with that at that time. And of course it was 46 years ago. And so she taught me a lot in those areas. And I just really thought she was special because one, she'd already been there for years, and then of course later I learned she'd been there many, many years before Baba dropped his body. And as I got to know her more, she was very focused on Baba and extremely generous with her giving cups of tea all day long to people, trying to make snacks for them, and she was not a good cook. Somebody told me, try and be funny. Well, it was funny that she was not a good cook. She couldn't watch the stove, She'd try and make cookies, and they'd just sit there and burn, and she'd be off doing something else. And she'd try and make milk for the tea that she was almost constantly giving, and the milk would just boil over because she was, doing something else in the room, still in the room, but not watching the milk. But as time passed and a lot more people came, she watched the milk a lot better and improved and focused on what she was doing. But she was the most determined person I ever met. She was the hardest working person I ever met. Even in the middle of summer, when it would be so hot, really, really hot, she could have stayed in her room and, kept cooler, taken a nap. No, she'd be hauling everything out of this one go-down, like a storeroom, and sorting it and cleaning some of it and putting some back. And sometimes she'd have her help her as a servant that got paid. And other times she'd be doing it all by herself. But she was just really a workaholic. And she made all her own food. She's famous for loving dogs beyond belief. And one dog story, she was good with dogs because she liked them so much. But this one dog was given to her that was only about this big, and it was white, and it was like a Spitz type of dog. And there's another kind that looks the same. Can't think of the other one's name, but so because it was so little, she just kept it on her lap most of the time. So the dog didn't get much running around or sunshine or anything. But she enjoyed it. And she had lots and lots of other dogs. In fact, she never liked dogs. But Baba told her, you must keep dogs. At least one or more. You keep some dogs on the hill with you. And he ordered her to do that. And she said, Baba, I don't want dogs. I don't like dogs. Baba said, you heard me. So she got a dog. And with the first dog, she fell in love with dogs. She became like just a doormat for this dog, any dog. I mean, she just really fell in love with dogs. So she started getting more and more. and people started bringing her dogs. And then Baba found out, and he said, I told you to keep a dog. I didn't say 10 dogs. Now you can only have 4 at a time. And so then, because the only vet that could operate on a dog was in Ahmednagar, and she wasn't allowed to go to Ahmednagar except for the dentist, and she never went for the dentist. Or for a doctor, she never went for a doctor. She only had 3 reasons she could go. And So, you know, some of these dogs had puppies, and then it went beyond 4, and so she'd have to kind of scurry to keep asking people, would you like a dog? Would you like a puppy? He's so cute. Because she couldn't have more than 4 by Baba's order, so she had to, you know, find homes for them. And she did pretty good at that. And today, there's so many people coming that if you have puppies on the hill now, it's like easy as cake to find a home, because people think, oh, I was born on the hill, you know, I'll take it. So, but of course she's not doing that today. But she was an incredibly vital person, incredibly energetic, incredibly determined. And most people didn't see her heart, but she had a very, very big heart. But it didn't come out, you know, she had trouble letting her heart be seen. In fact, when she died, she came 10 days in my dreams showing me her heart, because we were really close, you know. And to me, she was the only mother I ever had, because she was the only one who taught me anything important, and she taught me lots and lots of important things. And she died
Tell us
on...
what else that she taught you that was important?
Oh, like just what the word duty meant, what the word responsible meant. It means showing up on time for duty. It means coming on the day you're supposed to come, or the time you're supposed to, you know, things like that. I was just, you know, kind of floating in a fog with Baba in the beginning when I first went there. So she would give me, the first duty she ever gave me was to turn on the light outside of the library at 6 o'clock every night. I couldn't remember, you know. And first she ignored it, and she'd treat me very sweetly and say, Janaki, is it 6 o'clock yet? Or, is the library light on? And she knew it was not, right? And I'd say, oh, I'm sorry, and I'd go do it. And then later, when I still was forgetting, she would get tighter and say, Janaki, come on, can't you remember to turn on the library light? So I learned, you know, to take work more seriously. Anyway, but she was great, yes.
What was the determining factor that made you feel you wanted to live there? And now you've been there for 46 years. What was that determining factor?
Yes.
What was it?
I just came back here to get a new visa.
No, he said, what made you want to stay in India?
Oh. Well, previous to coming there, I had been trying to find out more about God. And I had no idea about, you know, the avatars and different ones and things like that. I just kept asking people, do you know anything about God? Even on the street, do you know anything about God? I went in a few countries doing this. And everybody'd say, read the Bible or read some holy books or something. And I tried that, but it didn't work too good. And then I was in the US, and I was at a girlfriend's house, and she said, my girlfriend's son is visiting, you know, his mother, just a few doors away from where I live. And he's spiritually seeking the way you are. And she clearly understood what I was looking for. And so I want you to meet him. So we met, we talked, and he showed me a Baba book. But he didn't say a word about Baba. He just started to open the book, and it fell to the first photo of Baba. And it was the Listen Humanity book, so there's a photo of Baba there. And he started turning other pages, because he said, I want to show you what's on page 50 or something. And as soon as I saw Baba's photo, I thought, he looks just like my father, and my father had just passed a few months before that. So I held on to the book, you know, on this side. And I kept going like that so he wouldn't turn the pages. And then, you know, I'd look at it again, and he's over here talking, you know, but I want to tell you what's on page 50, you know. Meanwhile, Baba is giving me this love experience, putting so much love on my chest. And I didn't know who this is, right? I didn't know Baba. And I'm overwhelmed because I'd never had any experience like that before. And so finally I said, can we wait a minute, just relax, and you could write down this man's name for me? Because he kept wanting to turn the pages. So he wrote down Baba's name and the name of the book. So that was my first experience with Baba. And I couldn't get that book. I couldn't get another book, any other book. I go from library to 2 or 3 countries, and I couldn't find any Baba, but this is the early 70s, mid-70s. And, people just, a lot of bookshops didn't have books about Baba. And then finally I got a book, and I go on the airplane. I'm going to someplace else in the States, but I was living in New Zealand. And I loaned it to a girlfriend. I never saw the book again. And I had to leave that area. So it was a long time before I got to read anything about Baba. But it finally happened. Anyway, so then when I came to Meherabad, had entered India because somebody had said, there's lots of people who know about God in the country of India, so go there. And everybody I talked to said the same thing. Go to India. You'll find out more about God. And what happened was, because I'd had that heart love experience from Baba, I kept asking people if they heard of Meher Baba. And finally, somebody said, yes, I just came from there. I met them in some other part of India, just not very far away. They said, you just take a train and get off here at Ahmednagar and ask to go to Baba's Samadhi, and don't let him take you other places. So I did that, and immediately. And then, but when I arrived, I was on a train that arrived in Ahmednagar at 9 o'clock at night. And the rickshaw driver kept saying, it's closed. If I take you there and it's a long trip and you have to pay extra money, then you won't be able to see anything or do anything because it's closed at 8 o'clock. And they don't open it, no matter what. So I'll take you to a hotel and tomorrow morning you can go. So I did that, but he actually took me to the Baba Center, the trust office. And Adi was going to talk, and there were other Baba lovers, so they helped me get in a reasonable hotel. And the next morning they took me. And the next morning happened to be Baba's birthday. So they told me, do you have an alarm clock? And I said, yes. They said, well, set it for 4 or 4:30 because we're going to come close to 4:30. And we're going to take you and jump in a rickshaw, and we have to be there at 5, before 5, because of his birthday. And I thought, these people, why would they get up at that time, Anyway, I did what he said, and I was there. So I came the night before Baba's birthday. And of course, that morning, all the mandali came, even the men mandali came for Baba's birthday. It was really sweet. But you don't want to hear all about me. What about?
Yes, we do.
What about some mandali things? Let's see.
And that was in 1977, Baba's
Yes.
birthday?
Yeah, the night before Baba's birthday. Thank you, Baba. And I've been there ever since.
Wow.
I just stayed.
What was the experience of being at Baba's birthday at the tomb like? Can you
You mean that
describe
first
it?
time?
Yeah.
Well, it was kind of overwhelming because I had no idea what was going to happen. I had no idea who these women were, the women mandali. And people were just sitting around the Samadhi, the portico in front of Samadhi. And there weren't that many people in 77. And then these women came, but somebody took my hand, and at that time, anybody could go inside Samadhi with the women mandali. So they pushed me inside. And they did the prayers inside and arti and everything, and I'm just swooning because one of the artis, which is a Gujarati arti, I just loved how it sounded so much. And so I'm, kind of fuzzy-headed. And then they came out and sat down, and other people sang other songs, etc., you know, sang Happy Birthday to Baba, which I found totally charming. And I knew that he had dropped his body, but they're singing Happy Birthday to him. And it just was, in one way, maybe odd or silly, but on the other hand, I thought, no, this is charming. He should do that. Anyway, I enjoyed it all, and I just stayed. And to bring me down, look what Baba did. The people start, the artis are finished, the other singing is finished, and people are drifting away, right? To go down the hill and eat breakfast, etc. And there's this man sitting over on the side of the cabin, which is right next to Samadhi. He's looking at Samadhi. And nobody else is there except Nanak. So I took darshan again, and then I went and I thought, I'll sit nearby and maybe this man will tell me something. So it happened to be Oliver. and Oliver saw me come and going to sit on the front side. And no, come over here, I'll tell you something. And remember, I'm in this, you know, Baba days, you know, and so Baba brings me down by meeting Oliver, who immediately starts talking about, you know, that, and slamming on the Farsi next to him, you know. Baba said that the whole world is going to be destroyed, well, at least 3/4, and he's talking about stuff like that. So I came right down to earth fast, you know? And I didn't know who this man is, but he seemed to know a lot, you know, if he knows the world's going to be destroyed. So I listened to him for a little while, and then, I don't know, I think he went away or I went away, something. But it was an unusual way of, you know, entering and being part of that. But I really just wanted to sit inside, because the few minutes that I had had before this, you know, minute was so quiet and peaceful inside. And I just started sitting inside, staying there and sitting inside as much as I could all day. And finally they put me to work. Nanak said, you're sitting there all day long, you don't even come out for food, so come out and give prasad while I go to the library for a little while, or go to the, you know, washroom or whatever. So that's how I started working at the Samadhi. And then I just kept being there, so he kept putting me to work. And then Mansari asked me a few questions, you know, like, where are you living or sleeping, or how long are you here, or whatever, things like that. And she put me to work. But, yes.
What's one?
Hi, sweetie. I didn't get to greet you yet. I've known her a long time.
You're making me cry. Chris, you're not making me cry. Thank you. What is one or more than one of your favorite experiences of giving
I
prasad?
can't really hear you.
What's one or more than one of your favorite experiences in giving prasad? And I'm asking that question because one of the best experiences I ever had near the Samadhi was at Amartiti time. Numerous ones were allowed to give prasad,
Yes.
and that was extraordinary experience for me. So I thought I would ask you to share one of
Well,
yours.
one fun thing, and you probably all have met this lady or at least heard about her. You know, Elizabeth that helped put together the Myrtle Beach Center. She was on a trip to India, and I believe this was her last trip. And one thing that happened with her, and this is the kind of thing, to answer your question, that happens from time to time, because how many people come there, right? She came, she looked like Elizabeth. She went in the Samadhi. She spent, you know, I don't think it was more than maybe 10 minutes. But when she came out, there was light all around her head, just tons of light all around her head. Her face was like glowing, not like a child grinning, but just the glow, you know, and you could practically see through her skin, and I just felt like, I think she saw Baba. You know, I just felt like she had something happen between her and Baba, because she looked so totally different than the way she went in. And I'd already seen many people change in that way from going inside and coming out, even children. So she just, that was one. And another great thing that would happen is that people would tell me their stories of what had happened inside with them, or they had this problem when they went in, and within a minute or two, Baba solved the problem, gave them the answer, or showed them something in their mind or heart where the answer, you know, they were, what you'd say, happy and content that he helped them. And a lot of people told me, like one story, this is just one story. This girl I had met in, I think it was Arizona, when I was in the States one time. And so I a little bit knew her, and she was probably roughly 30 at this time. She was in a Baba group in one place in Arizona. And she arrived, she greeted me like we only knew each other a little bit. She went in the Samadhi, and she spent, you know, at least a couple hours. She went down the hill. She did that, and after about the second or third day, she said, she talked to me because there's nobody else around. And she said, I'm only here about 5 days, but I'm happy I'm here. I said, yes, enjoy. And then after about the third day, she said, I just, you know that I've been in this Baba group in this city in Arizona. I said, yes, I remember. And she said, but I still, you know, after all these years of being in that group, I don't really know if Baba's God or not God. I just can't figure it out. And that's why I came to India, because I need to find out for sure if he's God or he's not God. And I said, great, that's a wonderful reason to come. And so she kept coming and going. She'd come up every morning and spend a couple hours, every afternoon, spend a couple hours. And then what happened? She said to me, I only have the time came that she was leaving tomorrow. So she said, I only have one more day left, and he hasn't given me any signs or signals or anything. I just don't know, you know, whether he's God or not. And I said, well, just enjoy being here. You know, you spent a lot of money to come here, and just enjoy your few days. So then the next day came, and she said, oh, tomorrow's my last day, and nothing has happened, and he's not giving me any signs or anything. So then, you know, I said whatever I could, you know, to make her feel comfortable, you know, like just enjoy this time. And so then the next morning she comes flying up the hill, really early, and I think she missed breakfast to do this. And I was there, and she said, oh, Janaki, guess what happened? I said, I don't know. And she said, well, I told you I'm leaving today, yes? And I said, yes. And she said, well, yesterday I told Baba, I need to know if you're God or not, and I have to leave tomorrow morning. So this is your chance, God, Baba. Tell me, send me a sign, do something. So he didn't answer, he didn't say anything, and I'm just sitting there listening, waiting. So I thought I'd help him. So she's talking, right? She said, I told Baba, if I see a white butterfly when I come out, then I'll know you're God. Now, when she tells me this, I didn't tell her that it's not butterfly season, and white butterflies are kind of rare in India. I didn't say a word because I know things happen with Baba, right? So she went in, she comes out, she says, well, nothing's happening. And in the middle of her putting on her shoes, somebody else asked me a question, so I had to go a little away and answer that question. Meanwhile, she goes down the hill. She comes flying up the hill early the next morning, and she said, guess what happened? I told Baba that if he could show me this white butterfly, you know, sometime that before I leave Meherabad, then I would know he's God. I said, oh, you know, what could I say? And so she said, so yesterday after, remember we were talking and I was putting on my shoes, and then you were called away, and I kept putting on my shoes, and I turned and I left, and a white butterfly sat on my shoulder as soon as I finished putting on my shoes. And the butterfly stayed on my shoulder all the way down to the MPC, all the way down the hill. And so she ran up missing breakfast to tell me this and said, now I know he's God. And I said, I'm so happy for you. Thank you for telling me, but try and see if you can get some breakfast. But these things happen all the time. So many, many, many stories, you know, that are just phenomenal. One Chinese, do you like this kind of story?
Yeah.
Okay. One time this Chinese girl came.
Pull the microphone a little closer.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Move the
Should I move it?
microphone so you can lean.
I should, okay. So instead of looking at you, I have to look at the mic. This isn't fun, Baba. So one time a Chinese girl came, and she'd been here before with a big group of people, and now this was her second trip. And her first trip, she was very not interested in Baba. She was very young, probably 20 to 25 at the most. Her clothing was like that her family had a lot of money in China. And she was with 4 other women who were older, and some of them were older. And, you know, every place that, like I showed them the museum, she had no interest, you know. She took them on a tour of Upper Meherabad. She had no interest. She tried to stay away from where I was talking. She just didn't have interest. They would force her to come to Aarti in the morning, but she would not take darshan. She would stay away, you know, she'd circle around the samadhi. She wouldn't listen to the music. You know, she was resistant to Baba and not interested. And then her last morning, they went to breakfast. They were only here 5 days. And she stayed and she took darshan. And after she took darshan, she went around to Mira's side and looked into Baba from right next to Mira. And I had eaten lunch with them the day before, and I thought, this is the day to eat lunch with them, because I've never seen her take darshan before. And then she additionally wanted to look at him again, you know, by looking in the window. So I went to lunch, and I knew they were leaving right after lunch. So I went to have lunch with them at NPR. And I was talking, and that girl didn't have so much English, but the other people did. There's like, I think, a total of 5 or 6 people. So, you know, I was saying to this one, you know, how was your stay? Was the food okay? You know, things like that. And they were just saying simple things. And then she wanted to talk, and she just wasn't talking before this. And so she just started talking in Chinese language, and one of the people started translating, another lady. So in the translation, she's saying, well, I didn't know anything about this Meher Baba, and I just came because my friend was coming, and da-da-da. But today, I took darshan, and then I went around to the side window, and I was looking in. Now, I told you she was very resistant to seeing anything in the museum, hearing any stories, going on a tour. She didn't have interest in anything. She acted, like, I just want to go home. So she said, I was looking in the window, and I knew it was my last day, and I just felt, I felt uncomfortable, and I wasn't sure why I felt uncomfortable, but I just kept looking in. And then I said to Baba, you hug so many people. She'd seen a Baba film. And you haven't hugged me. And so she's in a, what you call, argumentative way, saying that to Baba in the window. And she said, Baba came out of the samadhi and hugged me. And she saw him and she felt him. So she was happy. And then she stood up because she was going to cry. And so she stood up and said, I have to go pack. And I jumped up because I was sitting near her. I jumped up and I started to hug her and I said, I hope I see you again. And she said, you will. So I knew she'd come back. But see how Baba helps people in the most amazing ways. And the most amazing. But years ago, the mandali said, when any Baba person has any experience with Baba, it's what that person is helpful to that person. So it's very individual, because when I first came, and the mandali were, lots of mandali and talking a lot about Baba and things like that. Different people had different dreams or experiences or something, and they would tell the mandali, and the mandali would say, that's really for you, that's what Baba felt was the best thing to give you. And every person is different, because they were so sensitive that they didn't want, like, if Sally was having this experience, they didn't want everybody else to feel, oh, I didn't get that experience. They wanted to help everybody understand that Baba gives different people different things. And another person, he might very quietly inside help them to be stronger. And before they weren't so strong inside, I was like that, And I'm very grateful he made me stronger. Some questions. Yes, sir.
Time spent with Mehera and Mani, if any.
Oh, of course, lots of times.
Well,
Money and
I
I
throw that in.
Money and I spent lots and lots of time together because we both loved kids, played with kids, and I helped her at Meherabad play with kids. She had a lot of these little wind-up toys, and most of the kids at that time were 7. Some of the Indian kids were much under 7, like 2, 3, 4 years old. And some of the kids that were 7, 8, 9 were still young enough, at least in their hearts or their minds, to want to play with the wind-up toys, or what the other kids were playing with. And I would help Mani do that. I'd help wind them up because she had lots of them, and she wanted all of them moving so that the group of kids could all, touch one or wind it up or, be interactive. And another thing Mani would do is on the front veranda, which we call the men's veranda at Meherabad, there's a piece of wall that's kind of blank. And she would go there and make shadow puppets with her hands, or shadow designs like a rabbit or something. And the kids couldn't believe it because they didn't know how it got there or how she did it. And I would help gather the kids or say, look, what is that? Is that a rabbit? To help her and them. So Mani and I did a lot of that together. And I did a lot with kids in different places. Mara. Mara, of course, was mostly on the ladies' porch, Mara's porch. And I had, mostly I just sat across and listened to her talk about Baba. Because when I first came, it had only been 8 years since Baba went, and she was always sitting in her chair on the porch, which was a chair like this. And right directly in front of her was a post or a pillar holding up the roof of the veranda. And on that post, just a little above her eye level, was a photo about this big of Baba. So she would look from her chair, and I would always sit right near there so that I would, be able to look straight at her if possible. And in the early days, sometimes she'd drop tears because she'd just remember Baba. She'd look at the photo and she'd cry. But then as time passed, she did that less and less. And Mara was, most people see her or saw her as delicate, quiet and gentle, and she was. But she had a really strong inner side. And a couple of different, Jeff Wolverton, I think, knows this, a very strong inside. And for instance, Jeff Wolverton or somebody else might be painting the porch of the veranda in the summer because they got permission and they needed somebody to paint it. And she would always be in charge, and she acted in charge. And there was one man who did a lot of maintenance work at Meherabad in the summers. He would come just every summer for a few years. And he called her the captain of the ship. Don't ever think she's this quiet, delicate lady. She's the captain of the ship, he would say. And when you'd see her at a strong time, you would see that, So it was another side of her that a lot of people didn't get a chance to see, maybe. But she was. And sometimes you'd see it with her and the other women, One time, it was the ladies, what they call Ladies' Day in India. And on that day, they put a lot of flowers in a swing and just do rope and maybe not even a board, but a board. So the women are allowed to swing after they've done their morning work and they take a shower and a new sari. Then they can swing in this decorated swing. So it was that holiday. And somebody had decorated the swing at Meherabad. And Mara was sitting on the porch. And I knew the strong side of Mara. And I knew enough about her to know that I would not get in trouble for this. So I went to Mara and I said, as soon as I got on the porch, I put out my hand towards her and to take her hand. And she immediately took my hand and got up. And she didn't know why, And Goher over there is sitting and saying, Janaki, what are you doing? Where are you taking her? Da, 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 because they had to be super protective of her. And I said, you know what day it is? It's a swinging day. Oh, no, don't swing her in the swing. And Goher and a couple other women jumped up and followed us. We went fast. Mara wanted to swing in the swing. So she walked really fast with me to get there before they got there, which I found hilarious because they're trying to stop her and she's trying to really get there, So I kept up with her. And I got to swing her a couple of times, and then Goher and the other ladies came and said, not too fast, not too much. Hang on, Mara, that's enough. But she enjoyed for whatever time they let her, And I don't know if you ever knew this about Meru, who was Mehera's niece and blood niece, But Meru was extremely athletic, and she was much younger than the other women. And she would, so many times in front of Mara's porch, she would be playing badminton. They'd put up a little tree, you know, a little, what do you call, net between one tree and another tree. And right in front of the porch, she'd be playing badminton while other people are visiting Mara on the porch. She was so athletic, and she liked to do this stuff. She'd get people to join in, you know. Anyway. Yes.
Just have a
Oh,
practical-
you know, David, you should watch for whatever you need to watch.
Sorry?
We're good. Go ahead. Say it
Oh.
loud.
Oh, I just, practical question. Where were you living in 77? I know that's when I first met you. There wasn't a Pilgrim Center, there wasn't Mayor Colony. Where did, or was there, where did you stay when you were working with?
Okay.
I'm sorry. I
At
don't
that,
remember, I just remember you at the tomb, we'd all come out, list out of the tomb, and you'd be there in your sari handing out the prasad, but never thought to ask you.
thank you. Keep that memory, because I don't wear saris very often now.
No, but I remember,
Sometimes I'm
do you remember how
silenced.
you used to wear a sari?
Yes. So, at that time, people were allowed to come for 4 days from Nagar. They had to, because the MPC wasn't there, it was being built. And so they could come and stay in, I think there was 10 or 12 beds in the main, where Mandali Hall is at Lower Meherabad.
Oh, yeah.
And they were allowed to stay there for just a couple days, and then they had to go back to Nagar. And the following week, if there was less people and no new people, they could come again. So I spent a couple weeks doing that. And then Padre was alive then, and he would not allow any woman that was not married to live at Lower Meherabad. Heather was there, but with her husband. And Ted and Janet were courting, and after a year or two they got married. But I was a single woman, you know. But very soon, my first 6 months, I just think I lived in Nagar most of the time. And then when I came back on a resident visa to work there and stay there, they gave me Padre and Bauji. Took me, if you know where just like down the road a little bit, there's our health clinic. It's called the Meherabad Health Clinic, I think. And a lot of villagers go there, and anybody can go. And it's free, I think, except for if they tell you to get this medicine, you go to the chemist and you have to pay for the medicine or something, but they give a lot of free medicine. Anyway, so I live right next to that health clinic. There's a tiny little house. It's one room, and it's very, very small. And it used to be where Valu lived. And Valu was a woman mandali. She slept in Mara's room with Mara, which only a few people did. And she had been so sincere with Baba that her father wanted her to get married, and she didn't want to get married. She just wanted to be in Baba's ashram. So finally they discussed it a long time, and Baba said to the father, I want her to be in my ashram, and she wants to be in my ashram. So please allow her. And she doesn't need to marry. So the father said, okay, you know, so she joined the ashram. So Valu lived in this little house for some years, and Baba had visited the house many, many times. And then at this time in history that I'm talking about, Padre and Bauji decided that I could live there. And they wanted to fix it up, and I kept saying quietly to Bauji, I don't need it fixed up. I'm happy the way it is, you know. And he wasn't paying attention, so I finally took him outside. Meanwhile, inside, Padre's going, we'll put a kitchen counter here. We have to get a bed. And I'll try and get the roof fixed. I don't know if I can do that because it was so broken. And, you know, he was trying to make it more livable. And she'll have to have a nulla so she can take a bath, you know, which is a tap, a water tap. And they take a few bricks so the water stays there. And it's like a shower, except that all you have is a water tap. So he's planning on doing all this, and I'm outside with Bauji saying, Bauji, really, I'm a simple girl. I can live under a tree. I'm happy with this house, you know, just the way it is. Don't let him spend money to do this. And he said, go back in there and just listen and be quiet because he's going to do what he wants to do. And he knew Padre, and I didn't know Padre. And if Padre decided to do something, he was in charge of Meherabad, so he did it. Anyway, Padre
And this
was...
was over by the clinic? This
Yeah.
was over by the Arangan Clinic, or I'm confused of the location?
You mean this little house?
Yeah.
Where it was? Well, if you go there, I think in '76, if you've been there ever since then, they built the trust on trust land, which used to be the family quarters of Meherabad. They built a clinic, and it's a free clinic for all villagers or anybody from anywhere can go there and get treated or see a doctor or a nurse. And it's a little tiny mud house that's right next to that. And
You
it's
were
still there,
actually at
but now...
Meherabad, Not Meherabad.
No,
that's
Meherabad.
you were at Meherabad.
What?
You
I'm
were
not hearing
at
you.
Meherabad, Meherabad or Merazad?
No, Meherabad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just trying to.
Yeah,
It's a-
but now
it's a
they've
clinic.
turned it into an archive house so nobody can sleep there.
Okay.
Because Baba went in there, you know, and Valu lived in it.
Was that the clinic that Alu worked in? Do you remember Alu?
Excuse me?
Alu? Dr. Dr.
Balu?
Alu?
Alu.
Dr. Alu,
Balu.
is that
She's
the
talking
clinic
about
she worked in?
Dr. Alu.
Lower
Tuberculosis
Meherabad?
clinic.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I can tell you Dr. Alu.
Oh, Dr. Alu.
Was
Yeah.
that her clinic?
No, no.
No, okay.
Dr. Alu never had her own clinic. She was a doctor, a Baba lover for many years,
Yeah.
and Arnavaz supported her almost her whole life financially because she had no money when she was older. And she'd worked in Bombay as a doctor, and then she'd retired. She wanted to live at Meherabad. They let her, they gave her a room, and she lived a long time, and a couple different times she was living here, and then she was living here, but at Lower Meherabad. And she became famous in her later years at this little house that's right next to the big blue buses and right next to the MPC. It's a little house, but it's a proper house, you know. It has toilets, bathrooms, kitchens, stuff like that. And Dr. Alu was living there, and it wasn't so completed as it was later. And she used to invite everybody, anybody to tea in that
Yeah,
house.
we would go.
So you
to-
might
yeah.
remember that, yes. And she usually had other food because she had a bai who knew how to make a lot of things. Yes. Dr. Alu lived to a ripe old age, 90-something. I don't remember what it was, but yes.
Did you have any, I don't know if she was still alive, Khorshid. I know she moved into the trust before she passed away.
Little
Yes.
portion.
Yes,
The one that lived in Bombay and then moved.
yes.
Did you have time with her?
A little, because she was in the trust compound and I was at Meherabad working, so I didn't have a lot of time with her, but I had some. One thing she taught me was, one time I'd gone back to the West. I shouldn't say she taught me, she talked to me about this. I had to go to the West, and it was kind of a short time, and then I came back, and I went to greet Khorshid and tell her I was returned, and she said, so what did you do? And I said, well, I was taking care of my ex-husband because he was sort of on his way to Baba. And Baba seemed to guide me to do that. And she said, "Did you do the prayers every day?" And I said, "No, I hardly had time to brush my teeth because he was like, he had Alzheimer's, so he was doing unusual things all the time. And so he had to be closely watched. And I had to make him all the food, and I wasn't a cook, so it was not easy for me. And so, well, next time, try at least to do the Beloved God prayer." And I thought that was so sweet that she would, and I really took it seriously, what she said. And she was right, you know, if you can't fit in a long prayer, try and fit in something. And it also helped me in this way. On days when, you know, I'm supposed to be able to sleep in till 6, 7 o'clock, and somebody calls and says, "Nobody showed up to do the 6 o'clock cleaning, so I have to fly up the hill," I still would remember to take a second to say, "Jai Baba, good morning, Baba," before I got dressed and ran up, you know. So it taught me to take a second, take whatever time you have to do something with Baba, you know.
And who is this that you're referring to that told you to say the beloved God?
Khorshid, little
Oh,
Khorshid.
Khorshid.
Khorshid,
Okay.
yes. Khorshid was a wonderful woman. Yes, yes.
What's the one story that you've got to tell us?
Yes.
That's like on the top of your top 3
Okay.
of your
What
list.
story?
Yeah.
Oh,
You pick.
Which
So
is
I'm
your
supposed-
favorite? Oh, yeah, your top, yeah.
well, do you mean connected with what?
Your experience in Meherabad.
Oh, my experience in Meherabad. Okay, give me a minute or two to think.
How about anything with Erich?
Are you asking your question?
Okay.
Wait.
Um, I think the most interesting thing about Erich was that from the time he was 8 years old, and he would come home from school on his bicycle, and Baba had been there waiting for him, and he knew this because Baba did it every day for a long time. But he would just run in the house, grab something, you know, like an apple or something to eat, and run back out because his male friends from school, they were all on their bicycles, and he wanted to go bike riding with them, and that's normal in India. You get out of school, you ride your bike, you know, when you're that age. And his mother kept saying, "Don't you know that Baba's been an hour waiting for you to come, and you sneak in the back door and grab an apple and run away? That's not good. You're not supposed to do that. Baba wants to see you. He's coming every day because he wants to see you." And he wanted to teach him the board, which he eventually got to do, you know, but at that age. But for a long time, Erich was just running away, you know. First day, I don't think I have one story about
Hey, Janaki,
Meherabad. There's so many.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, this one. This didn't help me, and this one is so much about Baba. So this happened just a few years ago. At Amartithi time, and this happened during Amartithi time. Amartithi had just finished. I'm walking out of the museum, I've, you know, locked the door, put the keys away where they belong. And then I'm walking towards the gate, towards the Samadhi. And I realize, oh, I better get my purse. My purse is locked up in the watchman cabin, which is right at the gate. I think, but my key to that room is inside my purse, which is inside the room. And I thought, how did that happen? And then I remembered somebody else had their key at the same time. They locked the door after I put my purse in. And of course, at that time, I didn't think that I should keep my purse or the key so that I can get back in the room because it was locked up during Amritithi. So it's the end of Amritithi. I'm slowly walking to get to that little cabin room, thinking what to do about this key that I don't have and how to get my purse out, which has my house keys in it or my room key in it. And I'm just, Baba, what to do, Baba. And from this direction, and me not knowing anything about what he's doing, comes this guy who was that year in charge of going into that little room and turning the lights on and off, morning and night, of all over Upper Meherabad. He's got the switches for all the lights. And he comes, he's got the key to that room. Thank you, Baba. And I was so happy and said, thank you, Baba, thank you, Baba. So he could open it, I could take my purse out. Try not to make the same mistake next time. Anyway. Buffet's Day, hundreds of happy and challenging times, but I think my most memorable times are times like that when you knew that there was a big problem and you didn't know how to fix the problem, but within a very short time, the problem would be solved, or some person would come that would know how to solve it. I mean, it was just amazing, Baba's help, all the time. But I have learned this, the more attention that I pay to Baba, and this is really just in the last, I can't say few, maybe several years, the more attention I pay to Baba, the more attention he pays to me. The more help is instantaneous, all the time, because I'm paying more attention to him. At least that's, in my experience, that's what I think happens.
Thank you.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you, Janaki.
Thank you.
More.
So we're going to close the session with Brad and I think Cathy.
Cathy and Brett.
Cathy and Brad, thank you.
Okay, that works.
This is going to wake you up.
Oh, thank you.
Be able to drive home
Don't
after
get
this.
ready here. Okay.
Going to tell you a story with some verse and rhyme. Won't take a lot of time, but it's not so sublime. About the avatar of the age whose eyes divine. It's no surprise, Baba's the one, and he's just begun. He's got my ego on the run. He's the God man, as you all know. When he shows up, he steals the show. Baba's the jewel, and we are his tool. And if you don't think so, you are the fool. When my mind starts thinking and my thoughts start thinking, my mind speeds up and I start going mad. Baba says to me, that's gotta be bad. So I slow myself down and turn myself around, and by his grace, he got me upside down. When he's done with me, I'll be in his crown. Because Baba's the jewel and we are his tool, and if you don't think so, you are the fool. Now my mind's stopping and my knees I'm dropping, because Baba's gonna take me shopping to the seventh plane where I'm feeling no pain and the real everything is there to gain. So I'm doing this rap because I'm tired of this crap. And I hope you don't snap because you better clap. Because Baba's the jewel and we are his fool. And if you don't think so, you are the fool.
So, the only way I can end a meeting is Jai Baba.
Very nice.